Hi guys, so in this episode I did want to get the quarter panel repair done on this side and start fitting the crotch coolers, but unfortunately I have got a lurgy. So the plan is I'm going to get better and carry on with work on this, but I do have other stuff to be getting on with. It still is car related, but I won't be doing any cutting and welding in this episode. So I still managed to get some stuff done on project BedBug. I struggled to take the door off, and what actually happened is up here where there's a captive plate for the screws, somebody had kindly nut and bolted this top part into position. They'd lost the captive plate, but the captive plate was still there. It had actually come undone and dropped down into the bottom of the panel. So where I cut an inspection hole, I managed to save that captive plate, re-tapped it so I could refit it up here. So I really struggled to undo the nuts and bolts that were fitted here. They'd really rusted into position, but I managed to get them undone. The bottom ones here, they were really stuck. In fact, I ended up having to drill them and almost mash them out. You can see there where I've actually drilled the head completely off that bolt. And as this part of the panel here was very moody and I've got to fit the crotch cooler, it didn't really matter me cutting this rusted section out because I was going to repair it anyway. What I've done is I've actually started making up a repair panel here to go in this position like that, and I've just cut it and bent over the edge there so it meets up against this line here. So at this point, Project BedBug is not quite ready for filler, but I did order the filler ahead of time. It has now arrived at Old's Car Market, so we're going to take a drive over to Old's Car Market, pick the filler up, and let's have a look around his shop as well. So at the moment, my dad is visiting Japan, and I did manage to fill his suitcase up with some bits for the 67, so we'll have a look at those later as well.
See the strip on the outside.
So I've just come back from Old's Car Market with a huge box of body filler. And if you remember when I was doing the body filler work on the 67 Beetle, I was using this product here. It comes in various stages. You've got a really thick filler here, a medium, and a very fine filler. And this stuff's great, it's anti-shrink. So over the years, hopefully, the areas that have got the body filler on won't lose their shape. So I've got the body filler ahead of time. The only other thing I need to get to go with this is going to be the fiberglass. So I need to get that ordered as well. And just here behind me is a selection of parts for the 67 that I've just removed from my father's suitcase. And something that I've mentioned before in previous videos, that the prices of Volkswagen parts in Japan are very expensive. And when I was getting parts for the 67 build, like those panels, it was actually cheaper to buy the panels from the UK and get them shipped over than it was to actually buy them online in Japan. So it goes without saying, buying bits and pieces like this for the 67 build did work out a lot cheaper buying it in the UK. And all these parts I actually purchased from eBay. And I do know what you're thinking, eBay is great, there's a lot of cheap stuff out there, but there's also a lot of bad stuff. What people don't realise is that the big names in the UK that sell Volkswagen parts also have eBay shops. So all these parts, although bought off eBay, they were actually bought off some big names in the UK. So I know that the quality is, well, it's pretty good. So first up, let's talk about the headlights. So the 67 that I've got was fitted with sealed beam unit, US spec headlights for left-hand drive. So they're not technically correct. But this particular model in Japan was fitted with sealed beam units. In the UK they weren't. But I did manage to get a pair of semi-sealed beam units, which means I can change the bulbs without having to change the whole headlight if anything goes wrong. But also it doesn't incorporate a side light bulb. The side light bulb on my particular 67 is in the indicator. So these are going to be great. And to install the indicators to the wings on the 67, I did need to buy some new rubbers, which are these here. As I said before, the indicator actually incorporates the side light bulb on this model, which is pretty cool. And to finish the headlights off, I've got some decent quality headlight rims as well. And in this little bag here is a new bonnet seal. In the box here, we have a new interior light. You've got a new handbrake boot there. We've also got a pair of what look to be quite nice horn grills. And also a set of pedal rubbers here. That's the accelerator pedal rubber and also a brake and a clutch rubber. In this bag here, we've got clamps and new rubbers for the front anti-roll bar. We've also got some seals here, so I can put the bonnet handle back on. We've got a rubber bootie that goes on top of the gear stick at the bottom, along with a new gear knob. The gear knob here, you can actually colour in the gear gate numbers if you want using an enamel paint. We have also got a new accelerator cable, and we've got the little check strap rubbers here as well. And we've got some bumper iron grommets. Got some new door switches and the little rubber grommets that sit behind it, a new steering coupling, and a washer jet. So I'm really chuffed that I've now got some little bits and pieces to get on with the 67 at some point, so I can't wait to get all this fitted. So I've always loved cars, everything about cars, ever since I was young. And it made me wonder, is it got something to do with the blood? Is my father responsible for making me who I am into a petrol head? So what I'm going to do is sit him down, I'm going to get him to answer some questions, and let's see if we can get some funny car stories out of him. So it's not very often that we get visitors in the workshop, but we've got one, and that's my dad. So this is my dad. He's come all the way from the UK, and this is the first time he's been in the Mezrashi workshop. What do you think of it so far?
It's quite dusty in here.
But there you go, it's quite dusty in here.
It's obviously a place where you create a lot of dust.
So this is my dad. He's come all the way from the UK. This is his first time in the Mezrashi workshop. He's had 5 minutes to look around the car, so I'm going to ask him what he thinks about the 67, the Project BedBug and the Mighty Mirror. So first up, what do you think about this 67 build?
Well, the 67 build is a serious car, isn't it? You know, this is something that is very rare, and well, it has to be taken seriously because it's a part of beetle history, a one-off, a one-year special. And you know, the more I look at this, the more I think whoever gets it is going to get the nearest thing to a 1967 production line beetle. It's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And what do you think of the colour?
Well, the colour isn't quite what I expected. I've seen the videos and yeah, it looked a lot plainer, more grey in the videos. There's actually a touch of yellow somewhere in that paint. Gives it a bit more life in the flesh.
And what do you think of the little mirror project?
Well, the mirror project, I'm looking forward to driving that one.
You're looking forward to driving it and hopefully not crashing it.
When did I ever crash a car?
We'll get on to that soon, on when he actually, if he's ever crashed a car. And what do you think of the Project BedBug?
Well, BedBug is something completely different. I do like BedBug. Putting together these two bits of different cars, totally different cars, but the same age, and making a one of them will just make something very, very unique. And when it's finished, I expect this will be, yeah, a terrific show car. I don't think I've seen anything quite like this, and I'm so looking forward to seeing it finished and on show somewhere.
So what was the first car you ever owned?
The first car I ever owned was a 1956 Austin Cambridge, which was black and rust when I bought it. And I parked it on my dad's drive, and I thought I could strip all the paint off and patch up the rust and paint it white and it would look modern. It was on the drive for about 3 weeks, and I came home one day and it was no longer there because my dad had just got fed up of it. And he'd taken it, well, had it picked up and taken to a scrapyard.
It got scrapped.
Before I could crash it.
Before you could crash it. So this man says he's never crashed, but I did hear a story a while back about the misfortune in a ice cream van.
The ice cream van, that was a bit of an adventure really. I had a weekend job driving a Mr. Whippy pink ice cream van. And if you can imagine the mid-1960s, and a big van, no power steering, and it used to drive all day, every day, rubbing up against the curb as it parked, serving ice cream. And I used to drive it at the weekends, and you may imagine a sunny afternoon, and me and a friend were in the van, and I was driving from one location to another. A beautiful sunny day, Radio Caroline playing in the background. Suddenly there was a bang like a pistol shot, and the steering wheel jumped out of my hands, and the van turned left and went up an embankment and turned over and ended up blocking the entire road. And we couldn't get out of it because there's only one door, and that was the driver's door, and it had fallen on that side, so we had to climb out through the serving hatch, and we were totally covered in liquid ice cream. It was a sad moment. We were standing there looking at this van, and one side of the road was full of traffic that couldn't get by, and the other side was full of traffic that couldn't get by. And a voice came from above. "Is that you?" And I looked up, and it was a girl that I'd gone to school with. And I said, "Yes, it's me." And she said, "Well, you better come up here, you know." So anyway, we ended up in her house with a cup of tea each and a plate of biscuits.
Covered in ice cream.
Covered in ice cream. Well, we had cleaned up a bit by then. Only halfway through the cup of tea, and this massive police sergeant came in, and he was very, very angry, because apparently you're not supposed to leave an accident or the scene of an accident. You're not supposed to consume anything until they've had a chance to breathalyze you. But we didn't know that. The moral of the story really is, do check your tyres before you take a car or a van out anywhere. I was unfortunate. I lost my job. They no longer wanted me to drive that ice cream van, and I used to enjoy that. Who knows where I would have ended up as a professional ice cream van driver.
Or stuntman.
Or a stuntman. That would have been fun.
So the guy that doesn't crash anything has crashed an ice cream van, but then I did hear a story about a motorcycle incident as well.
There were a couple of instances on motorbikes, but neither of which were my fault. I blame it on the weather. One was going to work 5:30 on a winter's morning, pitch black, pouring down with rain. I was riding a 250 aerial arrow at the time. Imagine it was a B road with lots of bends, and I went round one bend a little bit too fast, and the bike kind of aquaplaned and slid off one way. I went the other way. I ended up off the, in a field. Luckily there were nothing to damage me. And when I got up and looked around, pitch black, I couldn't see my bike. And of course, the engine had stopped, the lights had gone out, and the only hope I had was every time a passing car came by, I was looking for a flash of white to see where the bike was. Eventually I did find it, and yes, I managed to get it back on the road eventually and restarted it, and I got to work late, and I lost that job as well. So who knows what would have happened as a professional petrol pump attendant, which is what I was doing at the time.
Have you ever been stopped for speeding?
Yes, but it wasn't my fault, of course. Yes, and it's a little bit embarrassing. I'm not sure whether I should tell you this one, but I will, because I might be embarrassing you. But the way it was, again, it was when I had the aerial arrow, and I was riding around a North Circular, and there was a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit there, and I was doing 41 miles an hour, and I was chased by a noddy bike, a policeman on a Velocette noddy bike, and they can do 45 miles an hour.
45 miles an hour?
They can do 45. So he caught me up because I was doing 41, and he pulled me over, and he was a nice enough chap, because he just gave me stories about how horrific it would be if I'd had an accident at that speed.
Yeah.
And he let me off with a verbal warning.
Oh, you got lucky.
I was very lucky that day. He'd obviously had a good breakfast.
So what's been the most favourite car you've ever owned?
Oh man, you caught me with that one. I would say probably the favourite was an SC 911, a 1982 Targa, which is one of the old air-cooled 911s. It has great memories, and you will know we had good memories because we went...
Yeah, I've had some great memories in that car too. We did go to France in that one, and it was a bit of an epic road trip, and a pretty quick car as well.
Yeah, we had some fun in that. Yes, that's probably the car I regret selling as well, because it was old enough to be kind of immortal. It would never be anything other than what it was, a good fun little sports car.
Okay, and what has been the worst car you have ever owned?
I have two of them actually. One was a company car. It was a Vauxhall Carlton, and it was delivered to where I worked, and I was driving home that first evening, again on the North Circular, and it went about 3 miles and then everything died. Blocked the whole of the North Circular because everything just died. That was one. And the other one was a Mini. This is a Mini that no matter what you did, it always got water in its electrics, even when it was a sunny day.
If you could own any car with unlimited funds, what would you buy?
Since I've been here in Japan, and you've described them before, they're not people carriers, but the way the Japanese are designing larger multi-occupancy cars, let's call them, you can fit various numbers of people in, but they are luxurious vehicles. That they've got a tall driving position. You can have them as a family thing, or you could have them with 7 seats.
Yeah, like the Velfire.
Yeah, I mean,
big luxury leather seats inside, captain seats. Yeah,
I think that would suit me down to the ground at the moment. That would be a car that I would like, something like that. Yeah.
So if you had the opportunity to travel across the world in a car, what would you buy? You got to think of something that's going to be absolutely bulletproof and reliable and comfortable. What car would it be?
Well, as we're talking Japanese, I might go for a good Lexus.
Yeah.
You know, a real, the best Lexus they make, let's put it that way, where you know that you're going to get from A to B in comfort, and you arrive just as young as when you started off.
And a quick yes/no question. Is it true that you're a driving instructor and you once left a pupil in the road and drove off?
Not sure if I can answer that. It might incriminate me. Oh, I can answer it because I've retired, so it doesn't really matter anymore. It is true, yes.
Okay, so what's been the most reliable car you have owned?
The most reliable car I have owned was a company car, and it was made by Vauxhall. It was a Cavalier CD, and I had that for just over 3 years. It did everything it should, never broke down, but was a very boring car.
So what have you noticed that's different from the UK to Japan?
Japanese plumbing. What can I say? I'm quite... I don't have a bath at home. I converted my bath into a shower, a good shower. But since I've been in Japan here, I've got used to showering and then going into a Japanese bath, which means that you wash yourself in the shower, rinse off, go into this bath of hot water and just dream for 10 or 15 minutes. And I've got so used to that when I go back to the UK, I'm seriously considering how to convert my bathroom into a Japanese type bathroom. And the second thing, a toilet cistern in the UK is just a toilet cistern. It fills up with water, you flush it and the water goes down, it fills up again. But here in Japan, you put a little sink on the top and the water that is filling the cistern comes up through a little pipe and actually drops down into the sink, so you can actually wash your hands with the water that's going into the cistern. Now, isn't that just brilliant?
That's genius. Absolutely genius.
So there's another thought to take back to the UK.
So just come back from Old Car Market and picked up the body filler. What did you think of that place?
Quite an outstanding place. The guy has collected, a phantasmagorical collection of American automobilia is the way I'd put it. Never seen anything quite like it, from an old school bus to a 1960s Impala with a huge fins on the back. And also a collection of Volkswagens that I've never seen before. A postal van that has got Swiss markings on it, but apparently there are only 2 of these in the whole of Japan, and he's got one there. Plus 1 or 2 other beetles that look very, very special indeed. Old ones again, trafficators on the side. Plus another one that he seems to have stuck every single item he could from all the years of beetles all over it. So it looks incredibly funny, but it's obviously a car that works.
Yeah, with a supercharger.
With a supercharger, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is it true that you had a VW Polo that wouldn't break down?
Almost true, almost true. I had a Volkswagen Polo that refused to stop. I bought the car new, and I drove it back from where I purchased it, about 50 miles, 60 miles. And I was very pleased. It was a diesel, and it was, you know, a nice little car, let's put it that way. And I drove it into my drive, and you know, I thought, well, this is a good buy. This will do fine. I switched off and I got out, shut the door, blipped the door, walked away from it, and then I realised I could still hear the engine running, and I had the key in my hand, and I thought, this can't really be right. So I went back to it, and yeah, sure enough, the engine's ticking away quite merrily, and I've still got the key in my hand. So I unlocked it, and I opened the door, got inside, and I thought, well, what actually do you do to turn off a car that you've already turned off and it refuses to stop? And the only thing I could do was stall it. So I put it in first gear and I stalled it. And then I put the key in and I started it up again, and it started up nicely and it carried on, and I turned it off and it just carried on running, pulled the key out. And yeah, the only way that you could stop that car was actually to stall it.
So I'd like to say a big thanks for my dad for popping over from the UK to visit us here at Maison Chic, but also he did bring a lot of parts for the 67, so I can get on with that as well. So that was my dad talking about his automotive experiences and some funny stories there. So I really love those funny car stories and motorbike stories. If you've got anything similar, something that will make us chuckle, make sure you leave it in the comments below. So a little bit of a strange episode today with not much work going on the car, but in the next episode I hope to be alive and kicking and well enough to carry on hacking away at Project BedBug. But until then, I'll see you next time, guys. Cheers!
Can we do this one again? Can't remember what the model was.
So I'd like to say a big thanks for my dad to popping out. So I'd like to say a big...
Excuse me.
So I'd like to say a big thank you for my dad to... God. Oh, sorry.
So you don't want me to...
So...
Oh. I run out.